Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Get Tech Smart. I am your host, Flo Nicholas, and we're here to talk all things tech. But today, the episode is a little different, right? What's going on that we're seeing is a lot of businesses, whether small or large, are starting to go digital. And when I mean digital, I mean advertising, attracting potential prospective customers online. And you're going to learn how to do it with our expert here, Rachel Bellatori.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
The pleasure's all mine. And you know what? We have become fantastic friends. But before we get into a little bit more details, we want people to know who you are and your organization, which is Mill & Co. So let's talk a little bit about, well, first of all, do you even identify as a tech company, or do you identify more as a marketing company that helps organizations leverage technology, right, to better attract customers?
That's such a great question. And I think because unfortunately at the moment, I think a lot of clients view marketing just as marketing. It feels very siloed. While within marketing, a ton of it, most of it is digital, which is tech.
Right.
I think that the term I would more identify with would be marketing and advertising, although 98% of the work that we do is digital and requiring some sort of tech support.
Yeah, no. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of how you actually started your company, because there's like a backstory to that. And then we'll get into more details about how organizations, no matter the size, can leverage things like social media, TikTok, Instagram, all that fun stuff that I use myself.
This is actually one of the first things that you and I connected on. I remember sitting at Prest in Bedford talking about this, how we both had experiences at previous companies where we were not valued, we were overpaid, and I wish I was overpaid.
No. Hold on. That was not my story, okay? I wish I was
we were
overpaid.
Just paid so much money that we couldn't do it.
Yeah. It was too much to be overpaid, I'm telling you.
Oh, the burden. We were way overworked, way underpaid. And I remember having these ideas of a really progressive solution to turn out-of-pocket expense into profit. Just through a quick, simple solution. And I created this whole plan and a financial projection, and I presented it, and I was just met with a hard no. And so when I left that company and went to another company, I found it was same circus, different clowns, right? Like it's the same experience there. It's just everything is in their lane. And I had all these ideas to focus on strategy and consolidation. I started doing research, and I couldn't really find any company that was doing what I wanted to do, which was, what if one company wanted one partner that does everything? It doesn't exist unless it's crazy expensive, and you got these huge agencies with 30,000 square foot offices in Manhattan, and they charge a pretty penny every single month. Well, for small and mid-sized businesses, or even large businesses that are mindful of their budget, that's not realistic. So then what are you supposed to do? Not have marketing, which affects your bottom line, which affects sales, which affects employee retention. There was a need that needed to be filled. And so I was living in West Village, New York at the time, and I was walking up to the gym every day. I'd walk up 6th to 23rd Street, and I'd walk down 5th, and I lived just under 3rd. And one day I remember getting to the gym and like opening my eyes, like, I have no idea how I got here. Like I just walked 20 blocks with no memory of the walk.
Wow.
And I realized that I was just going through the motions, doing something that someone else had told me that I should be doing. And I had enough. I had had enough of being told no. I had enough of people telling me that this wouldn't work. So I started being really strategic, thinking through what a business plan could even look like. I quit a 6-figure job in New York, which is like, not much. Like it sounds impressive. Talk about being overpaid. And it was terrifying. But I left that job and started grinding and planning. And I met with lawyers, I met with accountants, and I just executed this idea of Mill & Co., which is as an advertising collective. We're called a collective, not an agency, because we work with freelancers and independent contractors who may have an agency experience and saw the light and left.
Right.
So we are handpicking teams of people that I know and trust, or working with people that they know and trust. And that's really how our business grew. May 16th will be our 5-year anniversary, which is crazy.
Fantastic.
You know, I have 2 full-time employees. We have about 150 freelancers on our roster. We haven't even tapped into all of it. So we're just getting started, and the scalability is just endless for us.
It's huge.
And our real focus is what we call our blueprint strategy. So that's identifying the why. I tell a great story of the story of Jim. Jim wakes up 4 o'clock in the morning, turns off his alarm, does not turn on the lights, walks to the bathroom, brushes his teeth, doesn't floss his teeth. He goes downstairs, he grabs a protein bar, he goes outside, he gets on his bike, and he rides away. So we know everything that Jim did, right? We know what Jim did. Why are you up so early? I mean, 4:30 is an ungodly time of day.
Right.
Why are you not turning the lights on? Is someone else in the room with you? Why are you just brushing your teeth? Seems like you're rushing. Are you late for something?
Right.
Why are you just having a protein bar and not a full breakfast? Why are you riding your bike and where are you going? Suddenly, if we answer all those questions, we know why Jim is behaving the way that he's behaving. That's the emotional. The first story was the rational. It's a step that almost all businesses skip over because to them, their product or their service, it's rational. Build it, sell it, people will just come. But that's not the case.
No.
So that's what it's been. It's been an amazing 5 years. I love working with our clients. We're industry agnostic, meaning we don't just stick into one vertical.
Yeah.
I think there's a ton I can learn from wealth management firms to aircraft engine repair companies to private chefs and caterers, down to food and beverage CPG products. So it's been awesome, and I would not do anything else with my life.
Right. And people in the tech industry as well that you're working with. But all right, so that's a lot. You have an extensive background, the why you started your company. So I'm going to start with the blueprint. And you said something that we hear a lot, right? You build it, they will come. But the reality is you build it, if they don't know who you are, then nobody is coming, right? So how do we get from the build it, let them know who you are by leveraging the digital marketing? So how does that all kind of fall together for people watching?
It's such a great question. And my answer to my clients is always, what's the data that you're currently collecting? Are you collecting data? If you have email lists or you have demographic and psychographic data, that should help tell you where your consumers are potentially living, engaging, wanting to hear from you. That's step one. Before we even talk about, you should be on TikTok, you should do LinkedIn, you need a website. Who are we talking to?
Right.
And not who do we think we want our client to be, but who is actually engaging with us, buying things from us, contacting us, being proactive to hear from us? Who's an advocate for us? Who's sending us referrals? So for me, the answer to that question is starting with the data and analyzing that. Google Analytics is an incredible tool to understand consumer behavior on your page-by-page level. I mean, I could geek out on that data all day, right? Because if we can understand their behavior, we understand where they come from, now it's very easy for me to say 96% of the people that come to your website are coming from LinkedIn. That is a huge insight, right? Now we know we need to leverage LinkedIn. You can take that a step deeper if you were running paid ads, for example, and maybe understand consumer interest. 57% of that 96% are really interested in travel. Amazing. Now we can start to craft content that speaks to their interest based on the data that we've been pulling together to really understand what's the most effective use of your marketing budget to have the highest yield.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned something great. And you and I have that connection with UNH Center for Business Analytics, and they're always talking about data, which unfortunately a lot of people who are starting out don't really seem to have that in terms of their priority, right? So I think what you're saying is really critical, is that if you're starting out, no matter the size of your business, you've got to understand who you're targeting. Right? It's not enough to just say, I'm going to open a bakery, And it's like, that's great. Okay. Why? First of all, and did you find the right location? Where you're located, do people like to be on the healthier side, and they're like, hey, we don't eat carbs. You know, there's so much that goes into that whole concept. So I'm going to rewind back a little bit because what we saw and what I saw a lot during COVID was a huge transition, right? Yes, to this day, I get, you know, some things in the mail, pamphlets and coupons, but I am one of those people now who is like, hey, everything is on my phone. My coupons, the discounts, I want it on my phone because if you give me that paper copy, half the time, by the time I get to the store and I get to the cash out, where's that copy? Sitting somewhere on my counter because I forgot it.
Right.
So how have businesses that you have seen that you're working with have kind of pivoted?
You know, some have, some haven't. Some, instead of a full pivot, are kind of like dipping the toe. And I'm like, listen, progress is progress. I'm here for it. I think it boils down to a few things. Number one, what is the business, the product, and the service that you have? If you are an art museum for an in-person experience, and you know that people who subscribe to art magazines are really good clients for you based on the data that you have of your current members, then yes, I would still suggest let's run a quarter page, let's run a full page, because we know that this is showing return. Is that all that we do? Absolutely not. It's 2023. You need to be digital.
Right.
We need to drive traffic to your site. You've got so much more information there. They can learn how to become a donor. They can learn how to become a volunteer, right? On the flip side, you know, there were a lot of brick and mortar places that we worked with, clients that were like, oh my God, I've never ever dealt with Grubhub or Uber Eats or I don't even have the styrofoam packaging to be able to join those platforms. What am I going to do? I don't have a website. I've never dealt with e-commerce before. You know, like what's WooCommerce? What's Shopify? So I also saw a bit of panic in some of those companies because they were just so frantic, and then they made a lot of bad decisions and started just quickly getting digital for the sake of being digital. Some of the mistakes that they were making are also on social media. I gotta be on social. I gotta start posting stuff. So they're just slapping things up with no rhyme or reason. What happens in that instance, and where we were very impactful for some clients, was coming in and saying, we need to take a pause here. What's our content strategy? Content strategy needs to be informed by the data of your consumers.
Yeah.
What time of day are people engaging with your specific platform on Instagram, on LinkedIn, on TikTok, on Facebook? What's your email open rate like? And what's the content that they're consuming? What are your brand points of differentiation and your value propositions? What do you stand for? What's your why? Those three things become this concoction that build what I call content pillars or content buckets. That way, you at least have these kind of three North Stars, right? So when you are going to start to invest in tech, digital, data, getting into social, at least you've got something to guide you. Now you know, instead of being like, oh boy, it's Wednesday, what am I going to post today? And just slap something up, there's a strategy behind it, because consumers are savvy. And if consumers did nothing else during COVID, they were on their phones, they were staring at their social platforms, they were engaging with content, they became even savvier because they had to. So it's not just businesses that had to become more digitized. Humans became accelerated in their consumption of data and technology.
Yeah. No, I mean, you bring up so many good points because around COVID, I started becoming more engaged on LinkedIn and really the struggle initially when you start wanting to leverage social media is trying to figure out, well, who the heck am I in the first place? And who are the followers that I'm trying to attract, that I'm trying to engage in? And like you said, what is my brand? What is my mission? What are my values? What is the service I'm offering? Am I selling anything? Is it a product, right? And I think for me, I had to learn all that stuff, that, hey, when you go on some of these platforms, there's certain times where there is more engagement, right? Mm-hmm. And people just don't want you to just post whatever because they're going to be like, oh, this is boring. Next, people are just going to keep scrolling. Yeah. Like, how do you create the content that will have somebody pause, stop, want to read, and want to learn more, and more than that, want to click to see where's your website, who are you, and and as well as comment. Hey, I'd like to get more information, for example.
Right.
So these are all strategies that they might seem complicated, but I'll tell you, when I joined the Hudson, New Hampshire Library Trustee Board, that's one of the things I said to them. Like, we gotta be a bit more creative in terms of how we're engaging our patrons and letting them know of all the activities that are going on at the library. And initially, it was like, ugh, social media, we got to dust it off. Oh my God,
Shake it out.
you're telling us we got to go on TikTok.
Yeah.
But then it's like they realized that there was this large community of librarians, over millions of videos created by librarians that were getting attention. And now, I'm so proud of our library because they're on social media.
Amazing.
They are doing short form videos, and it's working, and it's incredible to watch. So if the library can do it, you as a small business owner can do it as well.
The one thing to hammer that point home, Flo, that I see a lot, like we work with a bunch of wealth management firms. They are not the only wealth management firm in the United States, in the world. It's a saturated market.
Yeah.
Certainly there's variations within it. Some just focus on financial planning, some do institutional investing, some are just comprehensive wealth management. But overall, you've got choices, right? You've got choices of where you could go. How do you differentiate yourself if the services you offer are identical to company B over here? What's different about company A? To me, it's the people that they have, it's the culture that they nurture, it's their process and how they communicate with their clients. Those are what we call PODs, or points of differentiation. So if you can lean in and understand A, and then lean in B, your points of differentiation into your content, it doesn't matter how many competitors you have in the world, because no one has your people, no one has your specific process, no one has your specific culture. And then the three of those things together create a really unique way for you to have, relevancy and connectivity on an authentic level with your prospective clients.
Yeah. So some people think like, oh, social media is so expensive. Am I gonna have to pay like all this money for using, all these ad campaigns online? But being a business owner myself, Facebook ads, for example, is great way to, one, see your analytics, two, kind of promote and boost some of your ads, and three, it's actually very cheap. So let's talk about those fears of, oh my God, this is so expensive, but we also got to remember the conversion rate that's gonna have the potential of increasing your revenue.
There's a couple things that play into the success or the failure of an ad. The copy. What are you writing with the post? What's your call to action?
Yeah.
The content itself. Is it a static photo that you've been running for 24 months that people have seen, which we call creative fatigue?
Yeah. Or 24 years.
Or for 24 years.
Right.
Or, it's just like lame.
Right.
Is it a video, which is kind of enticing, and in the first 3 seconds, it grabs you?
Yeah.
What's your targeting look like? Are you letting Facebook just pick randomly who they think you should target, or are you inputting, I know that women between the ages of 30 and 56 are my top engaging consumers? Are you inputting that data from what you know? So when you couple together targeting, the copy, the content, of course there's more things that go into it. It creates a much more robust opportunity for exposure, engagement, awareness, and ultimately conversion. So when I talk to clients about building ads, it's not just to put a bunch of money behind it, because you could have a horrific looking ad that you put a ton of money behind for a month. Guess what? It's not going to perform. Your cost per conversion is going to be sky high. Versus if you ran a fifth of that budget, but with killer creative, right? And really enticing and exciting, chances are it's going to do a little bit better. The other thing I'd add that I like to track for our clients, specifically talking about Meta and Ads Manager, is a little metric called landing page views, or LPVs. A landing page view is Facebook's way of saying this person landed on this site and stayed for 3 seconds, which is their way to measure intent. I'm sure we've all accidentally clicked on an article we didn't want to, an ad we didn't want to, something popped in, we quickly got out of it. 3 seconds, a true 3 seconds, is a decent amount of time. So that's their measure of a successful, intentional click. So if you really want to understand traffic flow, looking at your Google Analytics compared to your metadata of, well, how many people are actually going to this place and staying? The last thing I'll add about ads is clients get to dictate how much money they want to spend. You should always consult a professional, right? But just know that if someone's like, you should not spend less than this huge amount, run, don't walk, okay? We've started clients at a very, very small amount just to show a little bit of traction, right? With killer creative. And then if that works, or maybe running a couple ads side by side with slight little variations with one control variable, now we're getting smart about the data. So our approach is conservative and focusing on the data of the ad and the creative and the conversion instead of just the budget. A few months in, now we can ramp up because now we've collected all this information. We're like, wow, we thought it was women from 30 to 56, but it's actually women and men from 41 to 62.
Yeah.
If you spent all your budget on the first month and that data was not correct, that's why people think it's expensive. So for me, the answer is in the data and the numbers.
Yeah. Well, what about people who say, well, I like, being involved in the community. I like to go knocking on random people's doors and letting them know who I am, that face-to-face, and handing them my business card.
Yeah.
What do you say to people who kind of still have that mentality?
Please don't come to my house. Period. I want to ask them why.
Yeah.
Why do you feel that this is impactful? What's the return that you're seeing on this? Also, any business owner, your time is incredibly valuable. The time of your staff is incredibly valuable. So if you can make a much bigger splash with a much smaller lift, why wouldn't you? So again, it is understanding the impact of data, the impact of good creative. The data then tells us where our audience is that we're intending to target. So now we can be more strategic with where we're spending the money. And also, are your consumers open to in-person? When's the last time you surveyed them and asked? Anytime we do a blueprint strategy, we survey, if applicable, their audience, their clients, their customers. How do you like to hear from us? I will tell you, in the last 2 years that we've done blueprints, no one has said in person, or very, very few. It is always over email and social, occasionally via text, and going onto the website and having a phone call. But I don't want you showing up at my door. Please don't come.
Yeah. What about now? If we do transition to the emails, for example, what is your recommendation, right? Because I get a lot of emails from marketing companies, and it's like, hey, we saw we were on your website and we recommend A, B, C, D, and I'm like, I have no idea who you are. So that kind of calling, but through emails. What is your take on that? Because I know we're promoting for people to be more digital, but I feel like they got to be kind of a little bit careful with just blindly emailing people who don't know who in the blue heavens you are.
I've been in business almost 5 years. I have never once placed a cold call or a cold email.
Wow.
In the very beginning, it was, who do I know that can help me find someone I don't? What events can I go to advocate for myself? How can I leverage my freelancer collective to let them know what I'm doing? Because they're already active with clients, and them to advocate for me. And I'm 5 years in. So if anyone is a success story, you can do it. And you and I also share this mentality about networking events and building your network, where I would rather give something away for free, knowing that A, it makes me feel good, B, I know I'm making a difference, but C, they're gonna remember that.
Exactly.
And they're gonna talk about it, and someone else might also see that I did that. So by me doing this one thing on one day, instead of having to sit there and be like, hey, it's Rachel, hello, or cool, I do one thing on one day, and that speaks for me. So that's been my approach, and I mean, we've continued to grow every single year because of it.
Yeah, that's the one time we say do go out at networking events.
Yeah.
because there is the power in networking. Because now, when you do get that email you send, you're sending an email to someone who you have been referred to, or someone is including you in an email and saying, hey, we recommend Flo for XYZ service. Right now, you have the better chances of having somebody actually respond to that email.
Yeah.
So you said you have a collective of people that are essentially a part of your organization. So what are some of the people that you're working with? So I'm assuming maybe like graphic designers, website designers. Let's get into a little bit more detail about who's part of your crew.
Yeah, I love my crew. I mean, all the standard things: copywriters, creative directors, strategists, graphic designers, video producers and editors, photographers, website designers, both front end and back end. So people that know custom coding versus people that can design a really beautiful front end, people that can build apps, SEO. We even had some niche people that we haven't tapped into in a while, but recipe developers, nutritionists. We even at one point had voiceover talent in English and Spanish, especially for clients that have a focus on DEI and want to make sure that whatever they're communicating, if they understand that their audience isn't only speaking English, then you should be able to translate your materials. I think those are probably the most frequent. Obviously, social media strategy, management, content production and creation. The biggest thing that I share with our clients is that we're just a valuable partner. For example, I had someone say, I really want PR. It's a personal decision. I don't necessarily believe in PR. Hot topic, comment below. I don't believe in it. I think for sure there are some industries that it's a thing, but to be honest, I think a lot of it is paid for, either by the person or the company paying the publication to feature them. In some instances, it's an amazing feature, and I think it happens to good people, and it's awesome. It's very expensive, and there's very little tracking in terms of data and ROI. So if you're going to spend a good chunk of your marketing budget into something 1 month that we can't even prove its effectiveness other than one article that goes somewhere, and we don't even know how many true eyeballs within who you want to target even look at it, because the publisher has us at the whim, right? Like, we don't get to see all the data they see.
Right.
Wouldn't you rather put that money into something like organic content or paid social, where we've got everything down to the time they looked at it, the page they visited, and how long they spent on your site, a specific breakdown of their demographic and psychographic data, the email data that we can get? Again, that could just be my professional opinion, but I had clients that were like, hey, can you do PR for us? And I'm like, no, I won't. Yeah. But I'd be happy to help you, try to find someone if that's something you're interested in pursuing, and here are the reasons that I won't help you with it.
Yeah, and we kind of talked a lot about content creation. And what we're seeing now, because this is a tech show, is just a lot of emerging technology, specifically artificial intelligence, which now, like for someone like me, I'm like, whoo, because now you have, it's hard, right? Yeah. Coming up, especially if you write newsletters for your business and you want people to know and keep up to date with who you are, or maybe you're providing tips to your customers, like recipes, or, letting your customers know about the latest and greatest of your products. Creating content sometimes can be a lot. Mm-hmm. But now there's a lot of tools coming on the market that can automate, that's really quick, fast, easy for business owners. Even if you're like one person, you can automate and essentially create content that will just drop Monday through Friday, or for the whole month.
Yeah.
For the whole month of May.
Yeah.
So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. I know you and I have chatted about one of our favorite tools, which is ChatGPT. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about how businesses can kind of leverage that for their digital advertising.
Yeah. Oh, I sit on both sides of the fence here, to be honest. So for those who don't know, ChatGPT is not all current data. So you have to buy certain plugins to get data up to 2023.
Right.
So it's just a good caveat for everyone to know, if they don't already know that. It may not be the most relevant depending on your industry and the question you're asking. A great example, Mill & Co. wants to do a day of caring, where we go into an animal shelter or rescue and we provide them with high quality professional photo and video content, because there's all these statistics that animals that do not have good content on the rescue site are less likely, drastically less likely to get adopted and rescued or even go into foster.
Oh my goodness.
Huge statistic. I know, that's so sad. I have 3 rescue dogs, so crazy. So my team used ChatGPT to look up animal rescues in Greater New England, versus having to sit there and Google, like, who's all that, and then manually transferring
right, that's
saved hours, right? Now, so that's the side I'm pro, right? If you need something written quickly, great. You want help with a newsletter. A good reminder too that ChatGPT is only as good as the question that you ask.
Exactly.
So it's really, the onus is still on you to have to still use your brain and think,
right.
But it can be wildly beneficial. Write me 3 LinkedIn posts about DEI and mental health and how they coincide.
Yeah.
I'm looking for 6 to 7 sentences per post, something like that, right?
Right.
Great. You still have to read it. You still have to proofread it. You still have to see that it makes sense. And then there's a layer that I think a lot of people forget, which is where the other side of the fence that I'm on. Does it share your brand voice?
Yeah.
It's written by AI.
Yeah.
They don't know who you are as a brand necessarily. There's a whole nother layer of them to understand your personality, your tone of voice, your mission, vision, values, points of differentiation. They're spewing out something that is very well written, very well put together. But is it authentic to you as a brand? And if we've learned anything over the last decade, consumers want authenticity.
Yeah.
They want transparency, and they're savvier than ever. So they will see right through that and be like, okay, this doesn't feel like you. This doesn't feel like you wrote this. The last piece that I'll add about ChatGPT and AI tools is our blueprint strategy is a 4 to 6 week, very, very in-depth breakdown of data, both qualitative and quantitative. We're auditing their site, their socials, we're looking at all their collateral, we're looking at their consumer data, we're looking at their Google Analytics, we're having conversations with the client, we're reading between the lines, we're pulling things out of them. It is such an intensive, amazing process. I'm not yet convinced that AI can produce an audit and truly analyze things on the level that we can do, and then provide brand identity, positioning, values, mission, vision, everything that truly makes sense for the client based on that initial conversation. I'm not convinced yet. I might, be eating my own words, in 6 months from now. But, for me, that's really an area that I feel strongly that has to be an in-person experience.
Yeah. And I think technology, from what we're seeing, it only can get better. And there are tools that are out there that, you can train it on your value, your mission, your brand, and the things are dedicated towards that. But I think what you make a great point of is probably before you even get to that point is having that audit done, so you really have a good understanding of, first of all, who are you even supposed to target? And then from there, when you have the understanding, now you're better able to leverage some of these tools to then dictate and say, create this for me. And I want it to feature cute little puppies, or cute little kittens and little bears, you know, whatever it is, right? But I think what business owners need to understand is there are tools that are available on the market. So even if you're like, I'm not that, techie type of person, some of these don't require, I think, too much of really processing of the brain cells. It's really kind of almost simple,
Yeah.
But no, this has been great. I mean, so just to wrap up, one, tell us your favorite analytics tool.
Oh, well, okay, this is a very, very basic one, but I cannot live without my Google Calendar. It's like literally the most basic, I know, but I use that for everything. Yesterday, I didn't use it, and I was blocked all day long, and I was not good about setting boundaries, but for me, it really goes back to, there's tons of things that we use, there's tons of software that we've implemented, but as a business owner, my values are around protecting my time and being able to give my clients my best. And I'm not able to do that if I'm not appropriately scheduling time for me and time for my clients. So it's a very basic answer, but genuinely, that is my favorite tool that I use.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I have a philosophy. It's not on my calendar. I'm not showing up for it. And I've missed meetings where people are texting me, hey, we're in the Zoom. I'm like, what Zoom? So I'm so for that. But I will say for analytics for businesses all over the state, if you're watching us from out of the country too, this works for you as well, is when you look at social media sites now, whether it's LinkedIn, Instagram, or TikTok or Facebook, a lot of these are using analytics. So you'll be able to see who's looking, who's viewing your videos, who's looking at your content. So that helps you get a clue of, hey, me posting photos of myself in my PJs holding a cup of coffee, nobody cares. They're not paying attention, right?
I would care, by the way.
Okay,
I care about your day.
Because my PJs are kind of cute, right? But I think the point that we're really trying to make here is that as business owners, no matter who you are, you can pay attention to those simple analytics, which a lot of them tend to be free. Of course, the more analytics and breakdown of demographics that you want, then there is a charge. And I think my advice is that at some point you've got to kind of say, what am I willing to pay for, so that I can be able to really find and hone into who my customers are and then be able to attract those customers, right?
Yeah.
The second is, what do you see should be like the top platform that business should use? And what I mean by that is, should all businesses really have a website? Or can I get away with just having a social media account and that can be my landing page? What are you seeing as the platform that's driving the most traffic?
Again, it varies for the business based on the data of their consumers. So if you are an e-commerce platform and you have a shop through your IG, your Instagram, but you still find that people are buying through your website, you probably shouldn't delete your website.
Good point.
Conversely, if they're only buying from Instagram, it's maybe 2%, maybe find out who those emails are that are buying through your site and send them a personal note from the founder. Hey, just wanted to let you know, from a cost perspective, we wanted to close down our site and really focus on creating amazing content for our clients like you. If you want to purchase anything moving forward, it'll be here. You lose 2%, no big deal. Right? You'll recoup that. So, what's working for your consumers? Where are they engaging with you? Where are they buying from you? On the other side of that coin, if your site is going to serve as a home base of information that you just want to be able to direct someone to, let's say you don't have a PDF deck or a quick one-sheeter and it's just all really intuitive and user-friendly, then that's what the purpose of your site is for. Yeah. So for me, the decision about the tech that you're using, the social that you're on, the platforms you engage with, is always about the data of your consumers and how they want to interact with you. That's why Google Analytics is such a great tool if you do have a website, and to make sure it's integrated correctly across every page to understand. If no one's coming to your site, first question, why?
Yeah.
Is it because it stinks? The content's not good?
Right.
Is it because it doesn't load well on mobile? A lot of companies do not check if their sites are mobile responsive across, Apple, Android, everything. Samsung, is this working on their phone? Because most people are looking at it on their phone before their computer.
Yes, they do. And I can tell you right now, there is nothing more annoying than looking at something and I can't pull it accurately on my cell phone, because now I have to wait, drive home, turn on my computer, and now go to your land page. And most people will just shut off their phone and they're done with you. So you bring up a great point.
Or they move on with their lives because they're busy,
Exactly.
or they get hit by something else and they're like, ooh, that's right, I was looking for that thing. Thank you so much for the reminder, because our phones are always listening to us if you haven't turned that off.
Yes, they are.
Which honestly, I'm here for it. I don't mind. Big brother, hello. I want to know the local restaurants that I like. Thank you very much. I'm here for it. So again, I think that the one take-home message I'd like to leave in terms of marketing is, if you're going to make decisions about investing your time, your resources, your team, or hiring from the outside to execute stuff, if you haven't done the strategy, the blueprint, the data dive to understand where even are these people, who are these people, how do they like to be communicated with, and where, you're wasting your dollars.
Yeah. And I find that a lot of small businesses, when I go, look, let's say I'm looking for a menu, a lot of them are using just like Facebook as their website page. which, it's maybe if it's your first year of business and you're trying to build capital, that's cute. But I think after the first year, it's like, we might want to have a more dedicated website. Because at this point, if you're in business for 20 years and you still have that one Facebook landing page, it's time to kind of invest. And there's so many now, there's so many platforms where you can have a website created for where it's cost effective and it's affordable. So
for the first 4 years of business, Mill & Co. had a single scroll landing page with jump links in the top menu. We're 5 years in and successful.
Yeah.
We had a single scroll landing page because it was enough, right?
Yeah.
For us, the site served as a purpose to get information out about our capabilities that mirrored what was in our deck that I would send out once I had a warm lead. In the meantime, I could refer them to the site. And then they had a contact form for the collective members or for prospective clients. That's what it served for me. That was the purpose. It was not a huge investment for me because I was smart in the beginning. It was like, well, how do I keep my overhead as low as possible knowing I just left a 6-figure New York job, to start a company and make $0 a month eating romaine lettuce and, ground beef for 6 months. So,
That sounds actually yummy right now.
Not bad.
Yeah. But this has been great.
Yeah,
I think this has been a fantastic overview of just how businesses can really leverage the data analytics to really understand how to really be more strategic in terms of their marketing plans, whether it's on their website, creating content, and getting, prospective clients, not only just getting the clients, but also retaining. And we'll forget that about retaining your clients after you've got them, because one customer, just because they did a service or they purchased something doesn't mean they can't be a repeat customer. So you want to make sure that you're continuously keeping them engaged in the loop. So any last words before we wrap up?
That's it. Data, data, data.
Data, data, data. Know your customers, where they are. Do they even like you in the first place? But this has been great. Thank you so much for joining us for an episode of Get Tech Smart, where we specifically focus on how to leverage digital marketing, which is so critical. And I know a lot of people struggle with that. And this has been really a great in-depth overview. So thank you for being here today, Rachel.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.
You are so welcome. And to everybody else watching at home, thank you. And stay tuned for more episodes of Get Tech Smart.